Guys, so we're going to take a leaf out of the book of Sabur Ahmed today. Sabur Bhai, who's in Pakistan currently and loves to make videos while driving. So I'm going to be doing a video, not while driving because that's not safe and I don't recommend anyone else to do that, but in the car while I am stationary. And what I wanted to talk about was something very beautiful about the Quran, which is that it speaks of and it mentions and it reminds us of some universal truths, right? Meaning, universal truths meaning, and what I mean by that here is that truths which apply to everyone and anyone, right? So they're not just unique to Muslims or Christians or atheists or other people from different backgrounds. Universal meaning universal human truths. And two things that we neglect and we forget about a lot as human beings is the fact of our birth, from where we came and where we're going. And this is a problem with many of us, especially atheists and those that incline towards such philosophies and ideas. They tend to be very neglectful or dismissive of death and where we have come from. And the Quran is full of verses which remind us of these two realities. And I believe there are two very important realities that we need to be reminded of. Because if we're not reminded of these two realities, we can lose our way, right? We can become very comfortable. It could put us in a state where we think we're here forever, we have the luxury of time, therefore there's no rush or urgency in trying to find or figure out our purpose and what we're doing and where we're going, right? Because the reality is, as human beings, naturally we have an inclination to discover our purpose. The search for purpose is ingrained within every single human soul. You can't escape this. But when you start to think or become comfortable, or when you start to neglect and stop thinking about death and the whole idea of life and death, we become neglectful of, or we become dismissive or unconcerned with searching for our purpose and meaning in life. We think we have the luxury of time, we're here forever, but that's not the case. Hence, for example, one part of the Quran, God says, and He reminds us, He says, look, and I'm paraphrasing, in the Arabic, God says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ. And then He says, فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. Very powerful, beautiful verse where God says and reminds us that He created us from a drop of dirty fluid. Right? Now, if we just think about this for a second, we may, generally speaking, just glance over these words, but really stop and reflect over what's being said here and what we're reminded of. Atheist, agnostic, whoever you are, this applies to every single one of us. Every single one of us watching this video right now most likely is under the age of 45 or 50 at least. Because I checked the demographics and there's no one, hardly anyone over that age group that watches these videos. That means about 50 years ago, if we were to rewind the tape back, 50 years ago, every single one of us didn't exist. Every single one of us were produced or created from a drop of mingled dirty fluid, an emission. That's our reality. If you just think about that fact for a second, that we went from a drop of liquid, lifeless drop of liquid, you can say, from one perspective, and today we're here as fully functioning human beings, able to converse with each other and understand each other and reflect, to go online and to watch a YouTube video, understand what YouTube is, understand what the internet is, understand all of these things. We are now saying here as rational, intelligent human beings, how do we make sense of that journey over the past 50 years? If we just really, just seriously and genuinely stop and reflect over that journey of our existence, by the way, of which we've had no role in getting us to this point, if we really think about it. We were unaware at that point when we were a drop of liquid, and following on from that point too, many, many years we weren't aware of our own existence. We don't remember our first couple of years, right? And there are many processes going on inside us right now that we are not aware of how they're working, how we're functioning. We're not in control of these processes. Just that journey of the past 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, which we have made. If we just reflect upon that, from that drop of liquid to who we are today, that should really get us to consider, that there is something going on. This surely can't be, this process in and of itself could not be the result of random physical processes. That's all I can put it out. That's all I can say, right? Just think about that. And then obviously we remember our origins, which should humble us from a perspective, but also God reminds us in other parts of the Quran of where we're going, right? For example, a profound two verses from a chapter of the Quran where God says that the competition of the worldly life, this competition to outdo each other, to amass more and more things, it could be material, money, whatever, to this competition to amass more and more things that we have with each other, is completely distracting us and deluding us from our true purpose from our Creator. And this distracts us until we visit our graves, as God says in the following verse. And it's interesting, the Quran is very precise. God says visit, not till we end up in our graves and it's all over. Because some of us like to think, those of us, that may be atheists and agnostic, like to think, oh, even if we do think about death, we think, yeah, when you die, it's all over, lights out. You're not going to feel anything. You're not going to know anything. You're going to be non-existence. But no, God reminds you that's not going to be the case. You're going to visit your grave. You're going to be there for a temporary period of time until you are brought forth again to be judged, right? Now, obviously, for some of us, this may be too much. So let me just halt right there and just go back to the point that the Quran is reminding us of some universal truths, our origins and where we're going. And this should remind us and get us to really think about the fact that we're here for a temporary period of time. We're here for a very limited period of time, and there's no guarantees on who's got 50 years, who's got another 60 years from this point on, who's got another 20 years. We don't know. And if we understand this should create a sense of urgency within every single one of us, no matter if we're atheist or agnostic, right? But this should create a sense of urgency by which or through which we should start to really engage with the bigger questions of life. Why am I here? Where am I going? What's this all about? Is there something else beyond this life? Is there a deeper purpose behind my life than the purpose I may have ascribed to myself? We should at least start considering these questions, right? And this is a great mercy of the Quran, because it's getting us to engage with realities which are true, and it's reminding us of realities, those things that if we think about, in this case, our existence, our birth and our death, that if we think about these things, they should create an urgency to really get us to make the most of our lives on this planet, so we can benefit from being here and we can end up in a better place in the next life. Something to really consider and think about. And this is why I urge every single non-Muslim, every single atheist, agnostic, to just engage with the Quran. Read it. In my previous video, I was just banging on about this as well, that fine, you don't believe it's from God, but at least make a start. Pick it up, read it with a clear, honest, objective mind, and see how it can benefit you, right? So I leave you guys with that. Let me know your thoughts below in the questions or comment section below. I always say questions for some reason. Comment section below. And until next time, take care. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell too.